99.3 Nigeria Info.
Lovely morning to you, Lagos. Welcome to the Crossfire here. We're live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube. Nigeria Info 99.3 is how you can watch this show. Today, we are unpacking the conversation around the emerging political dynamics. When we say emerging political dynamics, we talk about the new shifts, the new trends, the behaviors, the pattern, the tension, and whatever it is that you want to call it, everything that is shaping Nigeria's political environment right now. You're aware, you can see them, you can feel them, how citizens now feel about the government and institutions, how the economy is influencing politics, influencing our behavior as a people, how insecurity is trying to shape political discussions and decisions around the country, how younger Nigerians are engaging politically, and how political power is shifting. And I'm talking about both at the federal and state, the ruling party versus opposition, new actors versus the what they call the structures, the establishment. In summary, the evolving political climate, the new realities influencing leadership, governance, elections, public trust, and the direction the country is headed. That is what we want to talk about. So Lagos, please, how are these dynamics causing changes in Nigeria's political map and why it matters to you? I'd like to know when it's time to engage. According to the Africa Polling Institute, API, an independent non-profit, non-partisan opinion research think tank, in its 2025 Nigeria Social Cohesion Survey report that was released in July this year. Take a listen to this. It's very important, Lagos. There are growing citizens' distrust and low public confidence in the government and public institutions. Now, let me give you some figures and data. 83% of Nigerians have expressed little to no trust in the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. 82% have expressed same sentiment in the National Assembly under the leadership of Godswill Akpabio, right? And Tajuddin Abbas. 79% said they have little to no trust in the judiciary. Of course, judiciary, they're not spared. Of course. 53% of Nigerians feel disappointed in Nigeria. As citizens of this country, 53% of Nigerians, according to this poll by API, they feel disappointed in Nigeria, compared to 33% who feel truly proud of the country. 12% feel indifferent about the country. Whatever, they don't care. 48% of Nigerians are proud of being equally Nigerian from their ethnic group. 27% identify more with their ethnicity than with being a Nigerian. 11% feel more Nigerian than their ethnicity. Can you see the difference? Can you see the gap? So things are drastically changing in our polity today. Ayodele Adio is with me in the studio, and we'll be having this conversation. Good morning to you, Ayodele.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you here. I'm going to start first by getting your overview as to how you feel about the emerging dynamics in our polity today. How would you summarize it?
Well, I would say that it's taking quite a dangerous bent, because you want to look at it from the political side and perhaps from the economic or national security angle. On the political side, we are now dealt with a kind of politics that is bereft of ideas, a politics that is not progressive, a politics that is more often than not set up to pursue the ambitions of specific individuals, and not for the collective good of our people. What people like to say that we have a politics that is devoid of ideology, if you'd like. And that's a shame, because once you have a politics that is not driven by ideology or by principle, it becomes a politics that serves the interest of a tiny political elites that are connected and drives cronism, if you'd like. And that's the shame on the political front. On the national security front, I think that's quite obvious to many Nigerians that we have a failing national security architecture that has led to several kidnappings and killings across the country, and it looks like our security agencies are playing catch-up But I'm not as much worried as the fact that our security agencies are playing catch up than I am at the response of the political leadership of this country. There is a lack of a sense of urgency. You don't see that, animated nature of a political elite who are willing to roll up their sleeves, pull up their socks to solve the security challenges that we're grappling with. There seems to be a lot of passing the buck or kicking the can down the road. And there's just very little momentum being mustered from the political elite to solve this problem. You have a National Assembly that are collectively passing resolutions and talking on the floor of the National Assembly and do not see themselves as part of the process of solving our security problem in the country. You have subnational governments, particularly governors and local governments, who are completely removed from the security process, and that's why you have a lot of ungoverned spaces across the country. You have many local governments that are grossly under-policed, and a lot more that don't even have police presence at all. So you also look at and you see the fact that to a very large extent, the average Nigerian has lost purchasing power. Incomes have either stagnated or they have dwindled, and that makes the average household grappling to survive with the basics. Cost of rents are hitting the roof, cost of transportation is hitting the roof, cost of food and basic essentials like medicines are no longer within the reach of many Nigerians. Of course, the data also doesn't lie. You can see that the income per capita of the average Nigerian is somewhere around $800 to $900, which is, more than half of, which is less than half, of what it used to be about a decade ago. So you sum all this thing up, it gives you a sense of the data that you were reeling out earlier when you rightfully pointed out that, a lot of Nigerians have lost faith in the institutions of government, across the country. And it's largely because these institutions have either not delivered progress to them in terms of economy, has failed to protect them, and has failed to deliver justice. And that's where we are as a people.
Let's take a part of that data, and I want to talk to you about the dynamics that we're witnessing in the area of our politics, our political landscape. Before now, quite a number of people have raised fears that, look, we may be entering into a phase that we don't want to go, that we probably need to avoid if possible, and that's a phase of having a one-party state. Some people said at the time that it's impossible for a state like Nigeria. It's practically impossible. And then you begin to see governors compelling their commissioners, the House of Assembly, everybody to move to. Are you worried? Is a one-party state? Is it possible?
Well, I'm not worried at all, because given Nigeria's configuration, it's impossible to have, at this particular point in our political history, it's impossible to have a one-party state. And if you looked at the evolution of party formation in Nigeria since the 1950s up until now, and you see how political parties are formed over time and how political parties coalesce or merge, you will know that having a one-party state is almost an impossibility, right? There would always be ambitions, whether regionally, ethnically. All of these ambitions will always find political vehicles to realize such ambitions, which makes it impossible for a one-party state to emerge. So I'm completely not worried about the fact that you're going to have a one-party state, because you're also going to see a lot of pushback in the coming months and in the coming weeks. I think I listened, I can't remember which of the politicians made that point, that it looks like the APC's already become overpopulated. What that means in literal terms is that, you see, when you move into a new political party, when governors moving, for instance, the internal architecture of the political party goes upside down. So the person who was the leader of the party could have been a minister, for instance. He could have been a senator, for instance.
Especially at the state level.
At the state, exactly. And now that a governor has come into that party, that governor becomes the leader of the party. So you, for instance, who have been either spending money or nursing an ambition, that ambition is now under threat, right? So of course, the governor who comes in also comes in with his own structure and wants to plug in his own people within that political party, which obviously upends people who are already in that political party. And of course, there are always sometimes bitter rivalries between certain individuals within these political parties.
Right.
So what you're obviously going to see is movement in the other direction in a couple of months from now. Of course, 6 months from now, there are going to be primary elections. And so at that particular point in time, you'll see movements in the opposite direction. The people will then realize the ambition can no longer be accommodated within the APC, and they need another vehicle to realize their ambition. So whether it's the PDP, the ADC, or whichever party they find themselves, they will obviously coalesce in another political party. So in a nutshell, I just don't worry. I just don't see the fact that you're going to have a one-party state, giving really a political system in Nigeria.
I want to talk to you about the political consciousness of the young people in Nigeria. From the data I read out earlier, it's looking like young people are beginning to distance themselves from politics, especially against the backdrop of what had happened in 2023, where we had quite a number of young people for the first time in a long while, said, look, we're going to take back this thing, we're going to make this happen, and that happened. How can these trends be changed? Is it impossible to say, let's restore the confidence of the young people in the system? If we want to begin to do that, because right now, I don't even know where to begin from to start telling young people that, let's go and vote. Let's do this. I don't know where. I won't lie to you. I don't know where to start from. So how do we even begin that? Because we can't. So what most people, I think, don't know is if you abstain from elections, you are literally handing over everything these people need. And I use that word very respectfully and very cautiously. To do whatever it is they want to do, whatever it is they like, with your vote, whether you vote or you don't vote. People have this mindset of my vote will not count. But which is better, for you to go and vote or to abstain? Just talk to me. You know much about these things than I do.
I think it's a two-edged sword, which has led to the apathy from young people. Because on the one hand, you have a situation where politics has not delivered anything for young people. In fact, it's impoverished them, right? They've seen their social status shrink over the last decade, for instance. They can't afford the things that they used to afford. Many of them are even struggling to get married or even stay married because of the pressure that the economy is putting on them. So many of them have to hold tightly to God, to charms, to whatever they can hold on to survive. And so you see that disconnect because they just can't situate their reality within the politics that is being played today. So you look at the conversation, for instance, before Donald Trump made his very provocative utterances that has sort of shaken our political space. It was just about 2027. All sorts of permutations, political permutations.
Right,
In fact, even after major attacks, you were seeing rallies happening, in Edo State, trying to welcome new party members. So there's a huge disconnect, and young people just don't see themselves situated, or their reality situated within those kinds of politics. So how do you expect them to participate in a political system that has excluded them, and perhaps a political system that lives in a bubble set up for the elite, for their cronies, and in some respect for their extended families, right? So that has sort of pushed young people to either seek a Canadian visa, perhaps United Kingdom visa, or hold tightly to God to survive. But on the other hand, which is the other side of the sword, is I am not sure that we have had enough politicians who have been able to capture the imagination of young people, to speak to their hearts and their minds, and to paint a vision that young people can tie into. Now, because if we don't paint that vision and we don't have charismatic and engaging politicians who can galvanize these young people, because they are there for the taking actually, by capturing their imagination and speaking to the things that they so desire, you are not going to pull them into the political stream. So the work that needs to be done is the work of producing a new class of politicians that understand where the shoe pinches for young people and are able to communicate in the way that young people understand. They are able to capture their imagination and are able to earn the trust of these young people and pull them into the political system. Once you're able to do that, you're going to have a flooding of young people into the political space that will inadvertently upend what, for a very long time, has been quite an Orwellian political system. And that will be the biggest undoing of the current political class. And really and truly, that's why they do everything possible to exclude young people from the process. So I guess for me, what really needs to happen is that politicians who care, should find a way of coming together, put together a political vision that young people can key into, and find a brilliant way to communicate that vision in a way that captures their imagination and won't have a problem of youth apathy in our political system.
You know what's more troubling, Ayodele, is the fact that from this data released by API, they said 53% of Nigerians are disappointed in Nigeria. How do you make that kind of mass of people? How do you transform their perception about Nigeria?
By delivering on your promises. Listen, I'm even stunned that it's just 53%. My guess would have been a whole lot more, largely because of the current reality. Listen, I was speaking to, a senior executive in a hospitality concern. And 2 months ago, they already had commitments from people in diaspora who wanted to come and explore Dirty December in Nigeria. They've paid ahead. They've mobilized people. I'm talking hundreds of people who are going to be coming into Nigeria, Black Americans, to come and experience Nigeria. 2 weeks ago, they cancelled because of the uncertainty. They didn't think they were safe.
They cancelled.
They didn't think they were safe and all of that. And they weren't coming again. Now, that hits the bottom line of that particular hospitality concern, because they will be losing huge business from diasporans who had planned to come into the country. That also means that our local economy suffers because people who had high spending power would have come, patronized arts and culture, done a lot of things, eating restaurants and stuff like that, and our local economy loses, right? And who does that hospitality concern blame? They blame the inertia of government, who has painted this picture of an unsafe country to the international community, or hasn't done enough to repair the image and reputation of our country. So whether it's the person who is trying to travel home to Ilorin for Christmas and is having to do a lot of gymnastic in his head now, who is unsure whether he can take his family on a road trip from Lagos to Ilorin because of the events that are happening, or whether it's the guy who's graduated, a woman who sells akara, struggles to send her child to school. The young man graduates with a degree, does well, 2-1. He now has to come back to sit down with his mother selling akara every evening. And she still has to support the man who she sweated all her life to send through school. And, he still has to depend on her to feed. So a lot of people are largely disappointed in what this country has become, because on the one hand, they see the potential of what could have been, and they are now living in a reality that's an entire opposite. They can't get the kinds of jobs that they want to get. The state cannot protect them. Families are being ransacked. Farming communities in many cities in northern Nigeria have to pay levies or taxes, to terrorists before they can go to farm or before they can harvest their produce. People who feel hardly done by cannot seek justice in court. So you look at it and you have a helicopter view of this country, and you can see why you have 53% of people not believing in this country. And like I said, I'm stunned that it's 53%, because when you talk to the average Nigerian on the street, they are tired. They just want to either get out of this country or completely remove themselves from the daily reality, of Nigeria, because very few things work in the way that should work.
Do you feel sometimes that our politicians are not the actual ones in charge of the affairs of this country?
They are running the country in the way they know how to run this country. But sometimes I think it's garbage in, garbage out. The political system that brings these politicians into office. You know how Yoruba say that, ole fowo ekun fira ojari, which, so if you carry stolen goods, it's impossible to deliver quality governance to the people, right? And many of the people in political office are carrying stolen goods, right? Because they didn't get to office on the popular will or the mandate of the people. The political process, internal political process that gets them into office or gets them to earn the ticket of their political party is riddled with all sorts of gimmicks, right? They'll tell you primary election is on Saturday. You go and buy form to participate in the primary elections they're supposed to be holding on Saturday. And you pay a premium for that form. On Wednesday, you'll get a phone call from your comrades within the political party to tell you, Honorable, the party has decided on a candidate. And you're wondering, today is Wednesday. I thought Saturday was the primary election. You start to call party leaders. They say, sorry, this is where we have decided. The leaders say we should go here.
After buying the form.
So are you going to return my money after buying the form? They say, no, don't worry. The party will take care of you. So what that also means is that when the person who has been smuggled in to get that office, when he also gets office, the first thing he wants to do is also reel out compensation. First, to the godfathers who got him that seat. Second, to the people who they cut out in the process to give all sorts of settlements and entitlements before the people eventually. And that's where we are.
Let's go to break, Lagos. Ayodele is still here. We'll talk some more when we return. Stay here, please.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Update. Here's the gist. New Good Mama detergent delivers express cleaning and fragrance boosters for extra freshness. All in a freshening pack made for your upgrade. Try it today.
Good Mama, the washing is fast. Good Mama, my fabric is barely fresh. Good Mama, express cleaning. Good Mama, my laundry isn't too smile.
There's a reason she's a good mama. Express cleaning, extra fresh.
Mommy, what is 3 plus 1 plus 1?
5.
So what's 4 plus 1?
That's 5 school days of nourishing Ovaltine multi-chocolate goodness.
Yummy!
Buy the special Ovaltine pack with 4 sachets and 1 free for every school day. That's not all. Ovaltine is enriched with calcium, vitamin B12 and malt to support learning and playtime. Ovaltine, smart choice for smart kids.
Whether you're buying smoky jollof from your favorite spot in Ikeja, shopping online for your latest styles, or booking your next getaway to Dubai, MasterCard gives you the freedom to pay your way. Insert, tap, swipe, or click. So many options, yet so easy. With layers of security protecting every payment, your money stays safe.
From Danfo to travel, MasterCard connects you to the life you've earned and the one you dream of. Ask your bank for a MasterCard today. MasterCard, safe, convenient, priceless.
You don't just vibe to anything, and that's okay. Do you like it hot?
Hit me.
Then go for Mini Noodles Ninja Pepper flavored, the spicy rebel. Do you like it fresh?
Smooth.
Then get your Mini Noodles chicken and veggies flavor, the fresh king. Maybe you like to party.
Giggy.
Then you need to have a taste of Mini Noodles Patty Jollof flavor. Party starter. Or you could be a foodie.
That's it.
And you love Mini Noodles sloppy chicken flavor, the foodie vibes. Whatever you like, Mini-Me's got a flavor for you, so pick your vibe. Mini-Me Noodles. Slop life.
Oga Hustler, you guys match this hustle aura for aura. Oh yeah, carry one super commando energy drink, yeah. Make yourself get energy to fire on. Cause to wait for this hustle, not be by size. Super commando.
with throwback to Y2K fashion, energy, games, meet your faves, and music from the baddest DJs. It will happen for Eridan Space, Ikeja, Lagos, November 29th. Time now 2 p.m. Get your tickets for www.aproco.com. Aproco Nation Fiesta. Dehydrated by Aquafina.
Start your day and have a good time. And where you need to have the break time. If not tea, or garita. Kivo Crema.
Pay small. Why paying for when I can pay small? Pay small. Why paying for when I can pay small?
Hey Niger, December travel just got easier with Pay Small by Calabash. Book your flight with just 10% down payment and spread the rest before you fly. Fly with Airpeace, Aero Contractors, Arik Air, United Nigeria, Value Jet, or book on Waka Now and on board today. No last minute price hikes, no breaking the bank. Lock it in early. Pay small.
Pay small. Why paying for when I can pay small? Pay small. Why paying for when I can pay small?
Hey yeah, now Rabi, with Orabi, but it's strong, my mouth is fresh, it clean well, oh, now Orabi, strong teeth Orabi, fresh bread Orabi, 24/7 with Orabi, strong teeth Orabi.
Give on our teeth 24 hours protection. Use Orabi today. Na Nigerian Dental Association. Tanda Gidigba with Orabi.
This is where it all connects, all in one place.
Federal government says it is winning the war on terrorism.
Our president is there. This promise will never come to pass.
That he feels somewhat insecure just by the measure of his money.
Most of us don't even know the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. If everybody die, which voice is going to speak?
Yes, and Wike is one of the major actors in the demise of the PDP.
Getting George kicked in Nigerian court is not possible.
The news, conversation, information, and more. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
This is Morning Crossfire on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Welcome back to the show, Lagos, Nigeria. Wherever you are listening or watching, by the way, if you want to watch, go to our Facebook page, Nigeria Info 99.3 on Facebook. You can watch, you can see my guests, you can drop your comments. If you've got questions for him, please feel free to drop your questions on our Facebook page. We're also streaming live on YouTube, by the way. YouTube channel is Nigeria Info FM on YouTube, Nigeria Info FM. You can also drop your comment for us that will come take your questions and your thoughts. We're looking at the emerging political dynamics in Nigeria, and we've touched on several areas already, and we have a whole lot more to cover. Ayodele Adio is here with me, and please join us in having this conversation. Okay, Ayodele, thank you again for coming through this morning.
Always a pleasure.
Let's go. Let's be very specific in this second round of our chat. In my introduction earlier at the beginning of this program, I reeled out a few numbers, statistics, as compiled by a well-known polling, non-partisan, not-for-profit organization, API. That's Africa Polling Institute, and they said something. They released this report in July this year. They said 83% of Nigerians have little or no trust in the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that is the entire country. I mean, maybe it's babies that we're looking at that they didn't talk to. That 83% is huge. Talk to me about the governance style of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Well, I'm wondering if there's a style in the first instance, but you know, I can see why you have that staggering number of people who are disappointed in the Tinubu administration, and it's perhaps for three reasons. One is the hype around, you know, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, now president, was that he had an eye for talent. and he could source the best 11 to get on the pitch and deliver you the cup at the end of the tournament. What has happened, or what we have seen, is that he's had, 2-3 star players, and the rest of the team, will struggle to make, the bench. Exactly. Even in a local league. And that really has delivered an underwhelming performance of this administration. So you do have, a CBN governor who has a good head on his shoulders, a few other here and there. But the primary drivers of the economy and governance are sleeping on the switch. So you have a Minister of Agriculture. If I toss a coin now, you're not likely to know his name.
I'm not sure I know his name.
So
I'm thinking about it now. I am not sure I know his name.
So you see that.
Unlike when Akinwumi Adesina, sorry to button. Unlike when Akinwumi Adesina was there.
Exactly. So, and agriculture is the mainstay of our economy, right? And you're not seeing enough, to bring down the prices of food. You're not seeing enough to drive off productivity, to increase agricultural yield, and things like that. You look at your defense ministry, and the person who is currently Minister of Defense today has a series of question marks all over, right? You look at his performance when he was governor. I'm not sure why, how he became your Minister of Defense. You can go on and on and on and on.
You're saying President Bola Tinubu didn't plan to succeed?
Well,
is that what we're? I mean, now that we're, let's go back to the agricultural thing.
Yes.
Some would say that, it's a brief that the minister got. That is what he's going to act on. You could say that President Obasanjo at the time was a champion of agriculture.
Yeah.
You know him, everybody knows him. So definitely Akinwumi would perform and maybe outperform every other minister. But in this case, it seems as though the focus of the president is not in that area. Couldn't that be the reason why?
Well, there's a good point to make, because if you look at the president's style of governance when he was governor in Lagos, he was particularly brilliant in driving up revenue. So he knew where you hide the monies, basically, and he knew how to bring them out. So he was spectacular in doing that, in raising taxes, in raising up revenue. The problem was what you do with those revenue, right? And which is why I say the entire APC legacy, the entire Asiwaju legacy is actually built on the 8 years of Raji Fashola. With his gift of administration and how he governed the state and the style of his governance. He was one of the finest administrators we have seen in this country.
Very true.
So the entire APC legacy and Asiwaju mystery is actually built on those 8 years. And that's why when they were campaigning, they would tell you, look at what happened in Lagos. Essentially was the 8 years of Raji Fashola, right? So he knows how to drive up revenue. The question is what you do when that revenue comes in. And that's the same style he is taking to the center. He's pursuing ambitious tax reforms. He's pursuing, you look at customs, try to raise, import duty, try to raise revenue. Every agency, in fact, today, we seem to be praising the Minister for Interior and forget that the Minister of Interior is a key part of the national security architecture. And we don't judge him on one of his primary responsibility as Minister of Interior. We seem to be talking about passports, right? And, the ability for them, they talk about how much they've raised the keys of passport to generate revenues and things like that. So you have a group of people in this administration who are concerned about driving up revenue. And that is not a problem in itself, because if you took over an administration that was in a hole, given the misgovernance of the last 8 years, you want to raise revenue. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
But the question is what you do with those revenues when they come in mainstream. And that has been underwhelming. If you remember, for instance, 6 months into the administration, they promised they were going to give 75 billion to small and medium enterprises to sort of, put liquidity into the economy and things like that. They haven't found that 75 billion for small and medium enterprises. They touted the CNG project and put a good amount of some millions of dollars into the CNG project. Today, abduction has been grossly underwhelming. People are not adopting the CNG largely because the implementation was a complete shamble, right? So money down the drain again. You talk about cash transfer programs, and people across the country are telling you, where's the cash? So I think the only successful program that has put monies in the hands of Nigerians are the student loans, where a few students have, largely benefited from those loan programs. But the truth is, it's a loan. Right, you're still going to pay back, and why we're even celebrating a loan is a bit even funny to me, because these students will have to get jobs to be able to pay back that loan that they have collected in the first instance.
Right.
And if you have an economy that is not creating jobs, how are they going to pay these loans when they even graduate from the university in the first instance? And if in economies where students graduate with loans, it's usually a burden. Most countries are even trying to eliminate the process of students graduating with student loans because it clogs their wheel of progress in many of these societies, right? So, in a nutshell, there's good reason why people are disappointed with this administration, because, you promised to tackle security head on. It's getting worse. You promised to grow the economy in numerical terms. The growth is indeed happening.
Not on paper. so they want to see
but people want to feel it, right? Because the truth is, for Nigerians to feel it, the economy has to grow for at least 10% for the next decade for it to have an impact on the lives of people, right? And we're nowhere near that growth numbers. So purchasing power has dwindled, right? Household expenditure has hit the roof. So people are struggling to breathe. But you have an administration that is living in opacity. They're living outlandish lifestyles where they are flying. Nothing irritates me more in this administration. If you look at social media, when you see either essays or ministers, they are trying to meet each other. They usually have this video that starts with the SUV that they used to go and meet their brother, where they go to discuss national issues. They show you the SUV and convoys that they come up with, or they show you the planes, the business class, where they are sitting in the planes and telling you where they are traveling to go and discuss national issues. And so they are throwing it at your face that while the country is bleeding, while people are under enormous pressure, you people are flying on the best planes, you're riding the best cars, and there is no sense of urgency to solve the problems that people are grappling with. And hence, the backlash where 83% of Nigerians couldn't be impressed.
Let's talk about, by the way, if you're just joining us, you're welcome. Ayodele Adio is my guest this morning. Feel free. I'm going to start taking calls in a moment, even though I don't feel like it. And I respectfully said that because I have a lot to discuss with Ayodele this morning, but I think I can squeeze in one or two calls. People will be angry that I don't want to take their calls.
Please don't put me in trouble.
Okay, let's take one or two calls. Then I'll come back to Ayodele. And please make it short. 60 seconds is all I can give you, okay? 0201 2770 993. And female only line is 0201 465 7190. The numbers are there, the stats are there, and I'd just love for you to react to some of those numbers. How are these dynamics causing changes in Nigeria's political map, and why does it matter to you? Why does it matter that 83% of Nigerians don't trust the Bola Tinubu government? Why does it matter to you that 82% of Nigerians don't believe in the National Assembly? 82%. Why does it matter to you that 79% of Nigerians have said they have little to no trust in the judiciary? Do you agree with these numbers? Do you disagree with these numbers? 60 seconds is all you've got. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning.
Thank you very much to your guest. I love the way he calmly put all the pains Nigerians are passing through without, like if it is me, it would have been very, very harsh. I just love the way he's putting it down. Nigerians are going through a lot. But I want him to please, I find it difficult to understand the statistics this government is actually rolling out. Now they are saying inflation is going down. And it's not commercialization in terms of saying the reality on ground. I really don't understand. Have they gone into our Bureau of Statistics to go and also alter it again? Because I don't understand. It's not adding up. I know where I work and I know things that is happening. It's actually not adding up. Please, can you just shed more light? What is happening? Is it still propaganda again?
Why they're saying that inflation is going down and things are still not easy, right? She's gone. Well, thank you for calling me. Let's take another one here. Good morning to you. Morning.
Hello?
Yes, please.
Yeah, good morning, Sheriff Quadry.
Yes, please. Morning to you.
Good
morning.
Emeka is the name of my town.
Welcome.
It's been a while. You see, I totally agree with the numbers. I completely agree with them. And I like the insightful analysis of your guest.
Right.
You know, where he talked about even asking if we even know the name of the Minister of Agriculture. I was just laughing here when he asked that, because I don't even know the name of the Minister of Agriculture, because he has not been performing. And I think the major problem this government has is that most of the appointments were done as compensatory appointments, and they were not really round pegs in round holes or square pegs in square holes. That is one of the undoing of this administration. So, but the question now is, Nigerians, with these numbers, what are we doing with it? How prepared are we? Because you keep seeing policy of assaults all over the place. They make one policy today, tomorrow they revert. They told you no, they've withdrawn it. A list comes out tomorrow. They told you no. They say no, they've withdrawn the list and all that.
Thank you.
You see a lot of conflicting policies here and there. But what are we doing with it? How prepared are we for the next election?
Good question. Emeka, thanks for calling me. Appreciate it. All right, Dele, let me talk to you. Let's move on quickly to opposition. And I don't think this conversation will be complete without mentioning opposition. Atiku Abubakar has registered as a member of the ADC. Quite a number of people are in the ADC. If you look at NMPP, they're having their issues. They're not settled. Labour Party, they're having their issues. They're not settled. PDP, they're there. What's your thought about the state of opposition politics in Nigeria?
Well, the state of opposition politics, it's quite sad. First of all, let me start with the fact that you have a deliberate onslaught by the ruling party on opposition parties in Nigeria. Now,
you think it's an onslaught? You don't think that the opposition themselves brought about whatever it is that is
good question, because I was going to get to that point.
Okay.
All right. It's fair game, right? I'm not supposed to sit back and watch your political party come kick me out of office, right? So while there's an onslaught to sort of sow seeds of divisions and discords within these political parties, of course, the members of that same political parties, of these opposition parties, to a very large extent, have enabled the conditions upon which this division have been easy to engineer, right? But be that as it may, you also have a situation where, rallies of the opposition party, you saw one in Ekiti, you saw one in Lagos are being attacked, by thugs,
very true, very
hoodlums,
true.
Yes, and making it difficult for the opposition to get their acts together. But I think what worries me the most in terms of opposition politics in Nigeria is that opposition politics, unfortunately, is also not grounded in alternative ideas or ideology. Opposition politics is also grounded in regional or ethnic politics. Now, on the surface, for instance, it looks normal, but I can tell you that underneath it, the currents that are propelling some of these opposition, or many of these opposition, are still regional interests. So the region of the country believes that this president that they supported into power has not done enough for them, and perhaps they should shop for another political candidate. So you see that to earn the votes of that region that feel let down by this president is not going to be based on presenting an economic blueprint. It will be largely on somebody who champions the regional interest of that group. And therein lies the problem of our political system. Because, and again, if we open the phone lines, a lot of people agree with you that they don't like the direction that this country is going through, right? That's why you have 83% that are uncomfortable. But on election day, if many of these people you have asked the question about whether this country is being governed properly are faced with the choice about voting in court somebody from their region or from their clan or somebody from the opposition side, they will rationalize it in their head and tell you, well, we just have 4 more years. So I'd rather have the presidency somewhere on the streets that I can drive past. I can point to his house. That's the president's house. Than for the president to be far away from me, maybe in Adamawa or somewhere in Enugu or somewhere in... Do you understand? So you still do not have a politics that is driven by alternative ideas, because the votes that will be garnered in 2027 will be ethnically and religiously driven. So what you're going to have again are not politicians of principle or politicians of ideas, will be ethnic entrepreneurs in 2027. And what you're going to also have is a battle of ethnic supremacy. And this is what worries me the most. So we are not going to be judging this administration of it on its merit or demerit, as we have carefully analyzed now. When push comes to shove, it will be whether my brother should continue in office or not. And what country in the world can make progress like this?
Exactly my next question to you.
What country in the world can make progress like this?
And this is probably going to be my last question because of time. Because whilst I've had this conversation with quite a number of people, whether there is a need to define the Nigerian dream. What should be paramount? The ethnic consideration, the religion consideration, or the Nigerian state when we're electing leaders? Is that ever going to be possible?
Well, it will be possible if we help to craft a Nigerian identity. And if you'd give me 3 minutes, I'll explain my thoughts around this. When the founding fathers of many African countries got into office in the 1960s and the late 1950s, whether it was Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Jomo Kenyatta, Julius Nyerere in Tanzania, what they did was to start up with a one-party state. Their arguments at the time, founded on good reason, was they knew that if they pursued a multi-party democracy, it will quickly boil down into ethnic strife. And religious and ethnic riots will break out, and these countries wanted stability. And to a very large extent, they were right, because they achieved that stability to a reasonable point. And each of these countries that I've mentioned found themselves more recently in ethnic clashes that broke out of elections when they started to pursue multi-party democracies, right? I think, honestly speaking, and it's sad that I'm coming to this conclusion
because this worries me a lot. This part of our conversation worries me a whole lot.
To be honest, for the most part of my adult life, I thought that the problem with Nigeria were the people who were elected to govern Nigeria and not the political system that we were operating. I've now come to the sad conclusion that the elephant in the room is the political system that we're operating. And I tell you why. We have what we call a social fracture. And by that fracture, it means that every group in this country, every ethnic group, sees themselves first before they see the Nigerian identity.
No lies.
To put it more brutally, is that a man in Katsina sees that the borders through Adio that connects him to Niger, he's more clannish with the man from Niger Republic than with you from Oyo State. Now that's a problem for national unity. We don't see ourselves as brothers. We see ourselves as competing interests, such that, now that there's even a so-called foreign interference in our country, we are struggling to muster solidarity, against the foreign interest. So the truth is, we are ethnically driven in this country, to a very large extent also religiously driven, such that you cannot make progress in this political system. Because when you have 50 billion for road construction across this country, you cannot pursue economic interests to say that if I have 50 billion to construct roads, what is the most economic viable thing to do that will propel the economic of this country? Maybe it could be a road from Lagos, for instance, to Benin, just for the sake of this conversation, right? You cannot do that because members from Kano will tell you you're leaving our region outside. Members from the southeast will tell you you haven't done well by us. So what do you do as minister? You share that 50 billion across the entire country, and you end up just moving 10 kilometers across, and our roads are still
abandoned
bad.
projects.
Yeah, exactly.
Everywhere.
And our roads are still bad across because you are trying to constantly balance and not think economically. We're constantly thinking ethnically and geographically and not economically and thinking about growing the productivity of this country. So why don't we pursue, and I believe so strongly, that if we pursue a consociational democracy in the type that the Swiss pursue. Now, many don't know that in Switzerland, there are about 7 linguistic and ethnic groups. There's the French, the German. And so what they did in the 1950s was to adopt a system where each of these 7 groups will produce a councillor, which is like a president there. So these groups present one person and they sit in like a council, and one person chairs that council every year. But they all have equal deciding power. So everybody's represented at the center of power, and they've lived happily ever after since then. The same thing with Belgium. And these same countries that I've given you examples of had serious civil war in the 1800s, largely on ethnic fractures. So the same way, we have to come to the point wherein we devolve powers to every region. And I don't know how exactly we are going to do that. But we must have a system where the powers are dominant in the regions. And so people are not constantly looking to Abuja to say. So to close, isn't it sad that you have a system in this country where everybody is hugging their terrorist? Because you know, how do you say it to your language?
We have to go.
Wary of.
We have to go. Ayodele, thank you for coming around. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
More conversation, more talk, more right after this.
Update.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.